The $16 billion ransomware ghost war. The hook. First 30 seconds. It's 7:17 a.m. on a Tuesday in mid-October. The glow of 3 monitors burns against the darkness of a windowless room. A single, agonizing choice hangs in the air. Pay the ransom, or watch the world grind to a halt. Across the globe, critical infrastructure is already seizing up. Hospitals are losing patient records, pipelines are slowing to a trickle, and the digital doors to national defense systems have just been slammed shut. This wasn't a state-sponsored invasion, it was the digital equivalent of a mugging carried out by shadows. How could a handful of lines of code, invisible and untraceable, command a global surrender worth billions? The answer lies not in complex weaponry, but in the simple, undeniable greed of the modern era. And the real shock? The victims often don't know who they're paying, or even if the key they bought will actually unlock the cage. Narrative pacing and knowledge gap strategy. Chapter 1. The silent knock. The silence in that darkened room is broken only by the faint rhythmic tapping of fingers on plastic, a desperate attempt to reason with the unreasonable. They see the demand glowing crimson on the screen. $10 million in untraceable cryptocurrency, delivered within 72 hours, or the encrypted data, everything is wiped clean. This is not a negotiation, it's a countdown. We have to go back. Go back 3 weeks before the red timer started blinking, back to the moment the ghost first slipped through the digital door. It wasn't a sophisticated zero-day exploit targeting cutting-edge defense. It was far more pedestrian. It was a fishing lure cast into the vast ocean of human error. An email perfectly crafted, mimicking an invoice from a trusted, long-term supplier. The language was flawless. The urgency felt real. That single, unsuspecting click, the moment someone inside the organization validated the legitimacy of the attachment, was the gunshot that started this war. The payload was tiny, almost insignificant at first, burrowing deep into the network, mapping the terrain, learning the habits of the digital sentinels. It spent days, sometimes weeks, observing, learning where the backups lived, which administrators held the master keys, and how the daily data streams flowed. It was reconnaissance performed by a parasite, silent and patient. The real damage isn't done by the locking mechanism, it's done by the blueprint taken beforehand. That's the chilling part. The criminals didn't just lock the system, they stole the crown jewels first. Narrative pacing and knowledge gap strategy. Chapter 2. The anatomy of the freeze. The attackers, operating under layers of anonymous proxies routed through half a dozen seemingly unrelated jurisdictions, didn't want to cause chaos immediately. Chaos draws attention. They wanted dormancy, followed by maximum leverage. The moment they activated the encryption, the digital ice pick shattering the network was chosen for maximum impact, usually just before a major holiday or the beginning of a critical business cycle. Imagine the shockwave systems that ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, suddenly stop responding. In the world of modern logistics, this is the digital equivalent of halting all trains, planes, and automobiles simultaneously. We are talking about the arteries of commerce. Think of the municipal water treatment plants, the regional power grids, the systems managing food supply chains. These are not abstract concepts. These are the concrete things that keep 7 billion people alive and comfortable. The attackers knew this. They weaponized dependence. The silence on the network wasn't just the absence of data, it was the sound of a global economy holding its breath. Early victims often try to fight back, launching forensics teams, believing they can isolate the threat and restore from backups. But the ransomware strains that command these multi-million-dollar payouts are evolving faster than any defense. They are adaptive. If a backup is detected, the malware often shifts its strategy, deleting the restore points before encrypting the active files. A brutal double-jeopardy move. This escalation ensures that when the panic sets in, the only perceived path forward is the one illuminated by the glowing ransom note. Narrative pacing and knowledge gap strategy. Chapter 3. The invisible cartel. So who is holding the kill switch? This is where the shadows deepen. We look for nation-states, for intelligence agencies engaging in cyber espionage, but the $16 billion figure we reference, the staggering global cost of these attacks annually, is largely driven by decentralized entrepreneurial criminal syndicates. They operate like hyper-efficient, ruthless Silicon Valley startups, but their product is extortion. They are not ideologues. They are mercenaries of the digital dark web. Their headquarters are fluid, their leadership is masked by pseudonyms, and their payment processing is handled by sophisticated cryptocurrency mixers designed to obliterate any traceable ledger trail. The structure is genius in its horror. The original developers, the architects of the malware itself, rarely handle the actual negotiations. They lease the tools. They sell the subscription service. This structure, known as ransomware as a service, or RAS, democratizes high-level crime. A low-skilled actor, possessing only rudimentary hacking skills, can purchase the weapon, pay a percentage of the eventual take to the original developers, and launch a catastrophic attack on a multinational corporation. This insulation protects the core developers from prosecution, leaving law enforcement chasing low-level affiliates who often vanish immediately after receiving their cut. The ecosystem is self-sustaining, fueled by the constant influx of new victims who are too scared, too unprepared, or too paralyzed by liability concerns to report the full extent of the damage. Trust breaks down, and the criminal element thrives in that vacuum of transparency. Narrative pacing and knowledge gap strategy. Chapter 4. The Cost of Silence. Remember that initial choice flashing in the dark room? Pay or perish? The ethical debate surrounding payment is fierce. Governments universally advise against it. Paying validates the model. It funds the next, more sophisticated attack. It transforms the victim into an accessory to future crime. But what happens when the alternative is not just a business loss, but a catastrophe? When the encrypted files contain the only viable routes for cancer treatment protocols, or the schematics for stabilizing a failing nuclear plant cooling system? The immediate, pressing need for operational continuity overrides the long-term moral imperative. The victim pays, often through layers of specialized crisis management firms that act as digital intermediaries, ensuring the cryptocurrency is delivered without alerting authorities or the criminals themselves to any perceived weakness. The transaction is swift, anonymous, and horrifyingly efficient. But here is the fundamental knowledge gap we must confront. Even after the payment is made, the promise is often broken. Half the time, the decryption key delivered is faulty, incomplete, or simply doesn't work. The victims are then left not just with the initial trauma, but with the realization that they have been double extorted, robbed, and then lied to. This high rate of betrayal is a testament to the anarchic nature of the ghost war. There are no contracts, only temporary leverage. The climax and resolution, the unseen enemy. The clock is ticking down in that room. The decision has been made, the funds transferred. The digital key arrives. It's a small file, delivered through an encrypted chat session that vanishes the moment it's opened. The operator initiates the process, watching the progress bar crawl across the screen. A fragile thread connecting their ruined infrastructure to a potential future. The decryption completes. Life flickers back into the servers. The systems reboot. From the outside, the crisis appears averted. The immediate fallout is contained, but the true cost remains hidden, buried deeper than any encryption layer. The reason this ghost war costs $16 billion isn't just the ransom payments themselves. It's the lost productivity, the regulatory fines, the rebuilding of compromised networks, the years spent patching the entry point that was exploited by that single ill-fated email. And most critically, it's the infiltration that never fully goes away. Because the attackers, in their initial reconnaissance, often leave behind a dormant piece of code, a persistent backdoor, a small digital tripwire waiting for the next major patch cycle, waiting for the next moment of high stress. They don't just steal the data once, they secure the perpetual right to return. The ghost war never truly ends. The silence we hear after the payment is just the sound of the enemy reloading, waiting for the next Tuesday morning, when the world is too busy running, to notice the faint, almost inaudible click of a new connection being established in the dark. The door is never truly locked again.